The ordination of the 12 apostles. I'll be reading this verbatim. Here we go. Before the formal ordination service, Jesus spoke to the 12 as they were seated about him. My brethren, this hour of the kingdom has come. I have brought you apart here with me to present you to the Father as ambassadors of the kingdom. Some of you heard me speak of this kingdom in the synagogue when you were first called. Each of you has learned more about the Father's kingdom since you have been with me, working in the cities around and about the Sea of Galilee. But just now I have something more to tell you concerning this kingdom. The new kingdom which my Father is about to set up in the hearts of his earth children is to be an everlasting dominion. There shall be no end of this rule of my Father in the hearts of those who desire to do his divine will. I declare to you that my Father is not the God of the Jew or the Gentile. Many shall come from east and from west to sit down with us in my Father's kingdom. While many of the children of Abraham will refuse to enter this new brotherhood of the rule of the Father's Spirit in the hearts of the children of men. The power of this kingdom shall consist not in the strength of the armies, nor in the might of riches, but rather in the glory of the divine Spirit that shall come to teach the minds and rule the hearts of the reborn citizens of this heavenly kingdom, the sons of God. This is a brotherhood of love, wherein righteousness reigns, and whose battle cry shall be peace on earth, goodwill to all men. This kingdom which you are so soon to go forth proclaiming is the desire that good men of all ages, the hope of all of the earth, and the fulfillment of the wise promises of all of the prophets. But for you, my children, and for all others who would follow you into this kingdom, there is set a severe test. Faith alone will pass you through its portals, but you must bring forth the fruits of my Father's Spirit. If you would continue to ascend in the progressive life of the divine fellowship, verily, verily, I say unto you, not everyone who says, Lord, Lord, shall enter the kingdom of heaven, but rather he who does the will of my Father who is in heaven. Your message to the world shall be, seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and in finding these, all other things essential to eternal survival shall be secured therewith. And now would I make it plain to you that this kingdom of my Father will not come with an outward show of power or unseemly demonstration. You are not to go hence in the proclamation of the kingdom, saying, it is here or it is there. For this kingdom of which you preach is God within you. Whosoever would become great in my Father's kingdom shall become a minister to all. And whosoever would be first among you, let him become the server of his brethren. But when you are once truly received as citizens in the heavenly kingdom, you are no longer servants, but sons of the living God. And so shall this kingdom progress in the world until it shall break down every barrier and bring all men to know my Father and believe in the saving truth which I have come to declare. Even now is the kingdom at hand, and some of you will not die until you have seen the reign of God come in great power. That was the second coming, by the way. So the people, even here, he's telling people who he's talking to right then and there, you will see the great power of God coming. I don't know. The church is based on Paul and not Jesus, so what do? Back to the content. And this which your eyes now behold, this small beginning of 12 commonplace men, shall multiply and grow until eventually the whole earth should be filled with praise of my Father. And it will not be so much by the words you speak as by the lives you live, that men will know you have been with me and have learned of the realities of the kingdom. And while I would lay no grievous burdens upon your minds, I am about to put upon your soul the solemn responsibility of representing me in the world, when I shall presently leave you, as I now represent my Father in this life which I am living in the flesh. And when he had finished speaking, he stood up. When Jesus had finished praying, the apostles remained, each man bowed in his place. And it was many minutes before even Peter dared lift up his eyes to look upon the Master. One by one they embraced Jesus, but no man said aught. No man said aught. Yeah, a great silence pervaded the place while a host of celestial beings looked down upon this solemn and sacred scene. The creator of a universe placing the affairs of divine brotherhood of man under the direction of human minds. Then Jesus spoke, saying, "Now that you are ambassadors of my Father's kingdom, you have thereby become a class of men separate and distinct from all other men on earth. You are not now as men among men, but as the enlightened citizens of another and heavenly country among the ignorant creatures of this dark world." Did you get that? Ignorant creatures of this dark world. So this world had no light in it, demiurge, before Jesus walked on the land. It is not enough that you live as you were before this hour, but henceforth must you live as those who have tasted the glories of a better life and have been sent back to earth as ambassadors of the sovereign of that new and better world. Of the teacher, more is expected than of the pupil. Of the master, more is exacted than that of the servant. Of the citizens of a heavenly kingdom, more is required than of the citizens of the earthly rule. Some of the things which I am about to say to you may seem hard, but you have elected to represent me and the world, even as I now represent the Father. And as my agents on earth, you will be obligated to abide by those teachings and practices which are reflective of my ideals of mortal living on the worlds of space, and which I exemplify in my earth life of revealing the Father who is in heaven. I send you forth to proclaim liberty to the spiritual captives, joy to those in bondage of fear, and to heal the sick in accordance with the will of my Father in heaven. When you find my children in distress, speak encouragingly to them, saying, "Happy are the poor in spirit, the humble, for theirs are the treasures of the kingdom of heaven. Happy are they who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they shall be filled. Happy are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. Happy are the pure in heart, for they shall see God." And even so speak to my children these further words of spiritual comfort and promise. Happy are they who mourn, for they shall be comforted. Happy are they who weep, for they shall receive the spirit of rejoicing. Happy are the merciful, for they shall obtain mercy. Happy are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the sons of God. Happy are they who are persecuted for righteousness' sake, so theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Happy are you when men shall revile you and persecute you, and shall say all manner of evil against you falsely. Rejoice and be exceedingly glad, for great is your reward in heaven. My brethren, as I send you forth, you are the salt of the earth, salt with a saving savor. But if this salt has lost its savor, I can't say that word, wherewith shall it be salted? It is henceforth good for nothing, but to be cast out and trodden under the foot of men. You are the light of the world. A city set upon a hill cannot be hid. Neither do men light a candle and put it under a bushel on a candlestick. And it gives light to all who are in the house. Let your light so shine before men that they may see your good works and be led to glorify your Father who is in heaven. I am sending you out into the world to represent me and to act as my ambassadors of my Father's kingdom. And as you go forth to proclaim the glad tidings, put your trust in the Father whose messengers you are. Do not forcibly resist injustice. Put not your trust in the arm of the flesh. If your neighbor smites you on the right cheek, turn to him the other also. Be willing to suffer injustice rather than to go to law among yourselves. In kindness and with mercy, minister to all who are in distress and in need. I say to you, love your enemies. Do good to those who hate you, bless those who curse you, and pray for those who despitefully use you. And whatsoever you believe that I would do to men, do also to them. Your Father in heaven makes the sun to shine and on the evil as well as upon the good. Likewise, he sends rain on the just and the unjust. You are sons of God. Even more, you are now the ambassadors of my Father's kingdom. Be merciful, even as God is merciful. And in the eternal future of the kingdom, you shall be perfect, even as your heavenly Father is perfect. You are commissioned to save men, not to judge them. At the end of your earth life, you will all expect mercy. Therefore do I require of you during your mortal life that you show mercy to all of your brethren in the flesh. Make not the mistake of trying to pluck a mote out of your brother's eye where there is a beam in your own eye. Having first cast the beam out of your own eye, you can better see to cast the mote out of your brother's eye. Discern the truth clearly. Live the righteous life fearlessly, and so shall you be apostles, my apostles, and my Father's ambassadors. You have heard it said, if the blind lead the blind, they both shall fall into a pit. If you would guide others into the kingdom, you must yourselves walk in the clear light of living truth. In all business of the kingdom, I exhort you to show the judgment in keen wisdom. My eyes itching. Keen wisdom. Present not that which is holy to dogs, neither cast your pearls before swine, lest they trample your gems underfoot and turn to rend you. I warn you against false prophets who will come to you in sheep's clothing, while on the inside they are as the ravening wolves, but their fruits you shall know them. By their fruits you shall know them. Do men gather grapes from thorns, or figs from thistles? Even so, every good tree brings forth good fruit, but the corrupt tree bears evil fruit. A good tree cannot yield evil fruit, neither can a corrupt tree produce good fruit. Every tree that does not bring forth good fruit is presently hewn down and cast into the fire. In gaining an entrance into the kingdom of heaven, it is the motive that counts. My Father looks into the hearts of men and judges by their inner longings and their sincere intentions. In this great day of kingdom judgment, many will say to me, did we not prophesy in your name? And by your name do many wonderful works? But I will be compelled to say to them, I never knew you. Depart from me, you who are false teachers. But everyone who I just want to stop there and say, he's talking about religions here. You would have to read all of this. You would have to read. I'll get to the religious part. But false teachers are doctrines of men. So to all of you clergy, expect to hear him say, depart from me, I never knew you. But everyone who hears this charge and sincerely executes his commission to represent me before men, even as I have represented my Father to you, you shall find abundant entrance into my service and into the kingdom of the Heavenly Father. Never before had the apostles heard Jesus speak in this way, for he had talked to them as one having supreme authority. They came down from the mountain about sundown, but no man asked Jesus a question. The so-called Sermon on the Mount is not the gospel of Jesus. It does not contain much helpful instruction, but it was Jesus' ordination charge to the 12 apostles. It was the Master's personal commission to those who were to go on preaching the gospel and aspiring to represent him in the world of men, even as he was so eloquently and perfectly representative of his Father. You are the salt of the earth, salt with saving savor, but if this salt has lost its savor, wherewith shall it be salted? It is henceforth good for nothing but to be cast down and trodden under the foot of men. In Jesus' time, salt was precious. It was even used for money. The modern word salary is derived from the word salt. Salt not only flavors food, but it's also a preservative. It makes other things more tasty, and thus it serves by being spent. You are the light of the world. A city set on a hill cannot be hid. Neither do men light a candle and put it under a bushel, but on a candlestick. And it gives light to all those who are in the house. Let your light so shine before men that they may see your good works and be led to glorify your Father who is in heaven. Sunday evening, on reaching the home of Zebedee from the highlands north of Capernaum, Jesus and the 12 partook of a simple meal. Afterward, while Jesus went for a walk along the beach, the 12 talked among themselves. After a brief conference, while the twins built a small fire to give them warmth and more light, Andrew went out to find Jesus. And when he had overtaken him, he said, Master, my brethren are unable to comprehend what you have said about the kingdom. We do not feel able to begin this work until you have given us further instruction. I have come to ask you to join us in the garden and help us to understand the meaning of your words. And Jesus went with Andrew to meet with the apostles. When he had entered the garden, he gathered the apostles around him and taught them further, saying, "You find it difficult to receive my message because you would build the new teaching directly upon the old. But I declare that you must be reborn." Side note here. This is really what all religions are in this very statement. Jesus sees that his apostles want to take the old ways of the Torah, the scriptures, Moses, and they want to build upon it. They don't want the new message that Jesus is teaching. That's why they can't understand it. They're trying to make it make sense what they know of throughout the Old Testament. They're trying. So anyway, you'll see that as we keep moving on. So back to Jesus as recorded by Joshua. "You must start out afresh as the little children and be willing to trust my teaching and believe in God. The new gospel of the kingdom cannot be made to conform to that which is. You have wrong ideas of the Son of Man and his mission on earth. But do not make the mistake of thinking that I have come to set aside the law and the prophets. I have not come to destroy, but to fulfill, to enlarge and illuminate. I come not to transgress the law, but rather to write these new commandments on the tablets of your heart. I demand of you a righteousness that shall exceed the righteousness of those who seek to obtain the Father's favor by almsgiving, prayer, and fasting. If you would enter the kingdom, you must have a righteousness that consists in love, mercy, and truth. This sincere desire to do the will of my Father in heaven." Then said Simon Peter, "Master, if you have a new commandment, we would hear it. Reveal the new way to us." Jesus answered Peter, "You have heard it said by those who teach the law, 'You shall not kill,' that whosoever kills shall be subject to judgment. But I look beyond the act to uncover the motive. I declare to you that everyone who is angry with his brother is in danger of condemnation. He who nurses hatred in his heart and plans vengeance in his mind stands in danger of judgment. You must judge your fellows by their deeds. The Father in heaven judges by the intent. You have heard the teachers of law say, 'You shall not commit adultery.' But I say to you that every man who looks upon a woman with intent to lust after her has already committed adultery with her in his heart. You can only judge men by their acts, but my Father looks into the hearts of his children, and in mercy judges them in accordance with their intents and real desires." Jesus was minded to go on discussing the other commandments when James Zebedee interrupted him, asking, "Master, what shall we teach the people regarding divorcement? Shall we allow a man to divorce his wife, as Moses has directed?" And when Jesus heard this question, he said, "I have not come to legislate, but to enlighten. I have come not to reform the kingdoms of this world, but rather to establish the kingdom of heaven. It is not the will of the Father that I should yield to the temptation to teach you rules of government, trade, or social behavior, which, while they might be good for today, would be far more from suitable for the society of another age. I am on earth solely to comfort the minds, liberate the spirits, and save the souls of men. But I will say, concerning this question of divorcement, that while Moses looked with favor upon such things, it was not so in the days of Adam in the garden." After the apostles had talked among themselves for a short time, Jesus went on to say, "Always must you recognize the two viewpoints of all moral conduct, the human and the divine, the ways of the flesh and the way of the spirit, the estimate of time and the viewpoint of eternity." And though the 12 could not comprehend all that he taught them, they were truly helped by this instruction. And then said Jesus, "But you will stumble over my teaching because you are wont to interpret my message literally. You are slow to discern that the spirit of my teaching. Again, you must remember that you are my messengers. You are beholden to live your lives as I have in spirit lived mine. You are my personal representatives, but do not err in expecting all men to live as you do in every particular. Also, must you remember that I have sheep not of this flock, and that I am beholden to them also, to the end that I must provide for them the pattern of doing the will of God while living the life of the mortal nature. Then asked Nathanael, Master, shall we give no place to justice? The law of Moses says an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. What shall we say? And Jesus answered, You shall return good for evil. My messengers must not strive with men, but be gentle toward all. Measure for measure shall not be your rule. The rulers of men may have such laws, but not so in my kingdom. Mercy always shall determine your judgment, and love your conduct. And if these are hard sayings, you can even turn back. If you find the requirements of apostleship too hard, you may return to the less rigorous pathway of discipleship. On hearing these startling words, the apostles drew apart by themselves for a while. But they soon returned, and Peter said, Master, we would go on with you. Not one of us would turn back. We are fully prepared to pay the extra price. We will drink the cup. We would be apostles, not merely disciples. When Jesus heard this, he said, Be willing then to take up your responsibilities and follow me. Do your good deeds in secret. When you give alms, let not the left hand know what the right hand does. And when you pray, go apart by yourselves. Use not vain repetitions and meaningless phrases. Always remember that the Father knows what you need even before you ask him. And be not given to fasting and sad countenance to be seen by men, as my chosen apostles now set apart for the service of the kingdom. Lay not up for yourselves treasures on earth, but by your unselfish service lay up for yourselves treasures in heaven. For where your treasures are, there will your hearts be also. The lamp of the body is the eye. If, therefore, your eye is generous, your whole body will be full of light. But if your eye is selfish, the whole body will be filled with darkness. If the very light which is in you is turned darkness, how great is that darkness? And then Thomas asked Jesus if they should continue having everything in common. Said the Master, Yes, my brethren, I would that we should live together as one understanding family. You are entrusted with great work, and I crave your undivided service. You know that it has been well said, no man can serve two masters. You cannot sincerely worship God and have at the same time wholeheartedly serve mammon. Having now enlisted unreservedly in the work of the kingdom, be not anxious for your lives, much less be concerned with what you shall eat or what you shall drink, nor yet for your bodies, what clothing you shall wear. Already have you learned that the willing hands and earnest hearts shall not go hungry. And now, when you prepare to devote all of your energies to the work of the kingdom, be assured that the Father will not be unmindful of your needs. Seek first the kingdom of God, and when you have found entrance thereto, all things needful shall be added to you. Be not, therefore, unduly anxious for the morrow. Sufficient for the day is the trouble thereof. Jesus knew men were different, and so he taught his apostles. He constantly exhorted them to refrain from trying to mold the disciples and believers according to some set pattern. He sought to allow each soul to develop in its own way, a perfecting and separate individual before God. In answer to one of Peter's many questions, the Master said, I want to set men free so they can start out afresh as little children upon the new and better life. Jesus always insisted that true goodness must be unconscious in bestowing charity and not allowing the left hand to know what the right hand does. The three apostles were shocked this afternoon when they realized that their master's religion made no provision for spiritual self-examination. All religions before and after the time of Jesus, even Christianity, carefully provided for conscientious self-examination, but not so with the religion of Jesus of Nazareth. Jesus' philosophy of life is without religious introspection. The carpenter's son never taught character building. He taught character growth, declaring the kingdom of heaven is like a mustard seed. But Jesus said nothing which would prescribe self-analysis as a prevention of conceited egotism. The right to enter the kingdom is conditioned by faith, personal belief. The cost of remaining in the progressive ascent of the kingdom is the pearl of great price, in order to possess which man sells all that he has. The teaching of Jesus is a religion for everybody, not alone for weaklings and slaves. His religion never became crystallized during his day into creeds and theological laws. He left not a line of writing behind him. His life and teachings were bequeathed the universe as an inspirational and idealistic inheritance suitable for the spiritual guidance and moral instruction of all ages on all worlds. And even today, Jesus' teaching stands apart from all religions as such, albeit it is the living hope of every one of them. Jesus did not teach his apostles that religion is man's only earthly pursuit. That was the Jewish idea of serving God. But he did insist that religion was exclusive business of the 12. Jesus taught nothing to deter his believers from the pursuit of genuine culture. He only detracted from the tradition-bound religious schools of Jerusalem. He was liberal, big-hearted, learned, and tolerant. Self-conscious piety had no place in his philosophy of righteous living. The Master offered no solution for the non-religious problems of his own age, nor for any subsequent age. Jesus wished to develop spiritual insight into eternal realities and to stimulate initiative in the originality of living. He concerned himself exclusively with the underlying and permanent spiritual needs of the human race. He revealed a goodness equal to God. He exalted love, truth, beauty, and goodness as the divine ideal and the eternal reality. The Master came to create in man a new spirit, a new will, to impart a new capacity for knowing the truth, experiencing compassion, and choosing goodness, the will to be in harmony with God's will, coupled with the eternal urge to become perfect, even as the Father in heaven is perfect. Jesus' morality was always positive. The golden rule, as restated by Jesus, demands active social contact. The older negative rule could be obeyed in isolation. Jesus stripped morality of all rules and ceremonies and elevated it to majestic levels of spiritual thinking and truly righteous living. The new religion of Jesus was not without its practical implications. But whatever a practical, political, social, or economic value there is to be found in his teaching is the natural outworking of his inner experience of the soul, as it manifests the fruits of the spirits in the spontaneous daily ministry of genuine personal religious experience. After Jesus and Matthew had finished talking, Simon Zelotes asked, "But Master, are all men the sons of God?" And Jesus answered, "Yes, Simon, all men are the sons of God. And that is the good news you are going to proclaim." But the apostles could not grasp such a doctrine. It was new, strange, and a startling announcement. And it was because of his desire to impress this truth upon them that Jesus taught his followers to treat all men as their brothers. In response to a question asked by Andrew, the Master made it clear that the morality of his teaching was inseparable from religion of his living. He taught morality not from the nature of man, but from the relationship of man to God. John asked Jesus, "Master, what is the kingdom of heaven?" And Jesus answered, "The kingdom of heaven consists in these three essentials. First, recognition of the fact of the sovereignty of God. Second, belief in the truth of sonship with God. And third, faith in the effectiveness of the supreme human desire to do the will of God, to be like God. And this is the good news of the gospel, that by faith every mortal may have all these essentials of salvation." And now the week of waiting was over, and they prepared to depart on the morrow for Jerusalem. Anita K. Owens, Potter out.